Alright guys, I'm in the car. I've got the key in the ignition. It is not turned on yet. I've got ECU flash open. I have the ROM that I want to flash loaded. I am now going to hit write to ECU. A warning comes up and tells you that if you're already have the key on, press OK. Otherwise, connect the green test connector, which is me flicking this switch because I wired it to a switch. And then you have to very quickly turn the key on and hit OK. What I do is I go cross-handed. Alright guys, it's writing right now. Everybody always says this is a nervous thing and you might brick the ECU, and it's true, but I've probably written over 100 tunes to this car. It's had so many different configurations, and I taught myself to tune using the built engine that was in this. So it's complete. I can turn the key off, turn off my test connector, hit OK on here. Now also for this next part, when people show you starting the car the first time, I've seen some people say that, oh, it never starts up right away, or ever since I did my injectors, it doesn't start the first time after I load a tune. The reason that is that anytime you disconnect the battery on one of these, or reset the codes, or flash a tune, when you turn on the ignition the first time, the gauges are going to do a sweep, and until they do their sweep and then everything comes on and lights up, nothing's going to work. It's not going to start like normal until it does its first sweep after a reset. So what you do, turn it all on, just did the sweep, came back down, now it lit up. Now I can start the car and it'll start right up. This should run a lot better than last time. We stalled. That'll get better though. I didn't even let it do an idle relearn because I'm hoping to get it broken in before I even need that. Well, that's an improvement. Yesterday it's stalled at this stop sign. highway in a second here. It's about midnight where I am, so there shouldn't be too many cops on the road. we took this thing for a ride and it didn't overheat, but it did get pretty warm. It definitely got hotter than it used to when this thing was turbo. And I'm pretty sure the reason for that is I've got the new heat exchanger in front of the radiator. I've got a water pump that's electric in front of the radiator. I've got these big horns in front of the radiator. There's a lot of things in front of the radiator, and that's actually just in front of the condenser that's also in front of the radiator. With that said, we're going to work on some cooling mods here. What we're working on right now is making it so that all of the air that flows into this front end has to go through the motor. So we're doing this in 3 parts. First part, this ugly foam. So we're going to smooth this out and get it shaved down. The bumper fits right in here so that we'll get a nice seal, and anything that comes in has to go through there. The other thing that we're going to do, I've got some corrugated plastic here, and we're going to run that. The bumper on this comes to about right here, and that leaves us with a gap about this big. So we're going to take the corrugated plastic and we're going to tie that into the underneath of the bumper so that there's a piece that just comes up on here, and then I can throw a couple of screws in here, and that's going to help a lot, I think. You can see some of this foam down here. This has been shaved a little bit. I've removed the grill on here. You can see this is pretty sad on the size. I didn't think I would need it to be any bigger, so I left it small because it's got this large opening up here. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to open this hole up to be much larger. It's going to be more than double the size that it was. So with that and a lip down here to get it to the bottom rad support and close off the gap we've got there, that should drop our temps quite a bit. One other thing, it is actually a 4-prong approach here we're going to do, is I am removing some of the coolant from this and filling it back up with water, because I've got a pretty heavy, a pretty antifreeze heavy mixture in here. It's probably more than 50% antifreeze. The more water you have and less coolant, the car will actually run cooler. You can sometimes get a 10-degree difference by running water alone, but that'll freeze in the wintertime, so I have to have some antifreeze in this. Same thing for the air-to-water intercooler setup. Got that foam shaved down about as nice as I'm gonna get it. That is going to keep all of the airflow going through the radiator. I also took the time to paint this bumper bar black so that it just pops a little more. Over here, we've got our bumper with a much larger bottom opening. The top has some goop drying on it right now, which I've seen is highly recommended for doing grills. Supposed to hold up pretty good. I've got the bottom all weighted down, and I've gone around and peened this with a hammer so that it fits around the welds and everything. That way when I put the goop in, it'll just settle down in there. If there was gaps, if I had gaps on this stuff, like if I pull this up, now that sits up far away. When I drop this down, it'll sit nice and tight on there, so when I goop it, I'll get a nice fit. For the first part of this, I did actually use amazing goop. I am all out of that, and the store didn't have any more. This is made by the same people, and it's pretty much the same stuff. I went ahead and I enlarged the opening of the mouth in the front here, and that is considerably bigger. The old opening was about this big, and I gave it an extra 3 inches or so on each side. In addition, I have also put a plate down here. This is just corrugated plastic that is attached to the bottom of the bumper and then zipped up here to the rad supports with a couple of screws in the end to hold it up here. So hopefully doing these changes to the front end is going to considerably bring down our cooling temps, and we'll find out on the next ride. Now, one of the other problems that I was having with this is there is no speedometer. Originally, I was not worried about this during the 5-speed conversion because the wheel speed sensors for the ABS are actually the vehicle speed sensors. Problem with that is, I deleted the ABS. I removed the pump and just teed the lines up in an appropriate way, and the brakes feel really good. It probably took about 20 pounds off the front of the car, and well, actually feeling this in my hands now, it's probably more like 10. The reason we needed this is because right now, this whole harness here is just hanging with about 25 wires in there. So there's a harness in there with about 25 disconnected wires just hanging out like this with a glove on it. We're going to go ahead, pull the lines off of this because I'm not going to hook it back up. I'm just going to plug it in for wheel speed data. Since the last time, I've gotten this ABS pump mounted up here. You can see we've got a pretty simple bracket. It just goes from the pump right here to the body. It's out of the way. This is a place that normally would have just been, you know, behind the bumper. Here's a view from above for you guys. I do have a fresh tune to flash to this. As it is right now, my mass airflow scaling on the small end of the scale is actually pretty close. Anything under about 40 or 50 grams per second. We're gonna get this thing a little closer to streetable. I'm gonna keep taking it out every once in a while when I can on the dark, foggy nights